Well, hi, everybody. Oops. This is Dear Mama Sal, trying to get comfortable here. This is Dear Mama Sal, and it's Sunday afternoon, so it's time for us to talk about coping with our stress. And I'm hoping that none of you have had too much stress since Friday, but let me know if you have. We are, if you don't know, Dear Mama Sal is a group of people who get together 3 times a week just to help each other walk through life, cope better. Hi, Jeannie, good to see you. And hi, Jody, good to see you as well. And so today, I just wanted to say that it is great to have you here. We at DearMamaSal choose to help you and the people you know cope better with their lives by discussing our lives so that you can see that you're not the only one that has these issues going on. And you can see that people can live really happy lives, even though they're overwhelmed with stress. Like Jeannie, for example, whose whole house burned down a few months ago. And she has to restart the whole of her life again and go through all those negotiations about, what stuff was worth and having to replace it all. And then knowing she's not going to be able to replace it all because the insurance company will obviously pay as little as they can. And I understand that, that's business. And then, obviously Jeannie will want to get as much as she can. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, Jeannie, is how I am really impressed with the way that you are handling all of this. And I couldn't help but think to myself, not that you have to answer this, but the chances are you've probably got a little bit of money in reserve so that you are not hanging on every cent that they're likely to give you. And I wanted people to understand one of the strange things about money, because that's a big stress for a lot of people. But the thing I wanted to say was, isn't it interesting that when you need money, the banks won't lend it to you? And when you have it, they treat you totally differently. And I know that a lot of people get frustrated and going, but I need the money and their job is to lend it to me. No, that's not their job. Their job is to make money. So if they can't see that you have got the collateral to make sure that they're not going to lose it, then they're probably not going to lend it to you. And that's their right. And so I don't know about the rest of you, but I found it really interesting how that dynamic shifts. At the time in my life where I actually had some money, I noticed the way that the banks treated me was totally different. And I had a lot more leverage, even though I don't have a lot of money. But I have some, and I find that they treat you differently because of that. Now, I'm talking about that because both Jeannie and I had fires at our homes, and I am beginning to think, well, I am probably, what are we now, mid-January, February, March. I'm about 3 months away probably from being able to move back into my home. That's my best guess, 2.5 to 3 months. And so it's probably time for me to start thinking about what do I want to replace. Now, Jeannie, you can understand I'm going, I don't have the master list of what they are telling me they are going to pay for. And I'm going to start asking for that because I don't know if it makes sense to anybody, but like Jeannie, I am then going to have to decide, do I want to replace everything or do I want to upgrade what I've got with some of the money and then slowly start rebuilding the things. Now, obviously, I'm going to need, if my bed's been ditched, I need my bed. I need my mattress and I need my at least one pair of sheets and a duvet cover. Agreed? Pillows would be a good idea. So there, I'm going to need those every day of my life. So they are high on my list. But the other thing was, do I want to just rebuild my bathroom as it was, or do I want the bathroom that I would like to have? And not that I want to spend huge amounts of money, but maybe a couple of $100 on a sink will get me another waterfall sink. And I loved my waterfall sink. You all know that in my last house, I really loved that. And then maybe I did, I can't afford a tile wall-to-wall shower, but maybe I can afford a fiberglass enclosure wall-to-wall shower. Do you understand the sort of decisions that I'm making? And maybe I won't be able to afford glass doors for the shower. Maybe I've got to have a clear, shower curtain or something, because it's about what can I afford and how far can I go and get some of the things that I want. I wonder if that makes it. Jeannie is saying, very important to make this list of house contents. You need to say how old things are. Yes. Are they antique? The only thing antique in my house is me. No, I lie. The antique things were at the front end of the house. My brass and silver and stuff weren't in the line of fire. Yes, and it is. Oh, it is a list I have to make. They took pictures of everything, Jeannie. They literally opened a cupboard and they took pictures of the cupboard as it looks like. Then they took pictures of every single thing that they took out of each shelf or drawer or whatever. That was part of what I was amazed at. So somewhere there is going to be this incredible database that comes to me where, they would put all the lipsticks together and then take pictures so that, I didn't have to remember that I had this many lipsticks. This is how many I had. And so to me, that's a good thing. And I've got part of that list. Some things were so burned, they were not included. Yes. And that's what I'm starting to think about now. What was in the bathroom? Because that was the main problem, especially near the toilet area. What was there that was probably just literally melted? So for those of you sitting in the background, welcome. And feel free to listen to us or join in with the chit chat. We love it when people come and join us. Just know that as I go through and I give my input on things, please know that I am not somebody with a fancy piece of paper. The input I give to people is based on my experience of having lived this long. And that, it is amazing, how much you pick up over the years. They always say, I wish I'd known this when I was younger. And so that is really what I plan to do, is to just share with people the things that I wish. And we've got other viewers that are my sort of, age and also have input on this stuff. Oh, Jeannie's saying one thing she suddenly remembered was there was an antique doll on the bed in the guest room. Yes, those sort of things are really, and hopefully you've got a picture of it. So this is one thing that we just want to give everybody a constant reminder of. It is a really good idea that you take your cell phone and you walk around your house once a year and take a video of every room and literally open up drawers so you can see what's in there, and go to the back of equipment so you've got the serial number of your printers or whatever it is. It's a really good idea. And even if you don't do a video, if you just take pictures, but because it'll take up less space, I guess. But what I'm saying is, do you understand that you won't realize how valuable that is until you have something happen to you, as happened to both Jeannie and myself. Well, thank you, Jeannie. Jeannie's saying you're providing a great service, especially for young people, helping them cope with emotion early on. Yes, don't you wish somebody had taught you this early on? Or maybe somebody did, Jeannie. I certainly know that I didn't learn about how much damage I did with my emotion until way later. And that is why. But on the other hand, I think if I hadn't suffered the way that I did, I wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing today. And by the way, it's a absolutely milestone week for me this week. First of all, for those of you who've been with me for quite a while, We actually made it to 1.5 million views this week, yesterday, in fact. And that is just like, wow. But it took a long time. It's taken a long time. And the subject on which I speak is not what I call a fun subject necessarily. And so to have reached 1.5 million views is amazing if you think about it. And hi, Autumn. How are the twins? Enoch and Elijah. No, Enoch and something. Jody will remember. She's got more brains than I have. Or Autumn will just tell me because she's a decent person. Enoch and Autumn's got twins that are about to come into our lives any minute now. Enoch and Elias. Oh, I was so close. I said Elijah. So well done, Sal. Better than you thought you were. So I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about this milestone of hitting 1.5 million. Yes, and Jeannie's saying, bravo on the views, the stopping smoking. Yes, that was 8 years ago. And the moves. Well, it's amazing that you look at it and you go, what did it take? And I thought we'd have a moment to talk about that. What did it take to get to 1.5 million views? And do you know that even with that, I don't feel necessarily successful? Does that surprise any of you? I've done enough work to create 1.5 million views, and there's part of me that does not think I am successful. And so I thought that some of you would probably understand that. Some of you, if you got really honest with yourself, probably can realize that, if I can imagine, I can remember how excited I was to get my first 1,000 views. I was probably more excited about getting my first 1,000 than I was getting my first million. I know, I must admit, the millions are big. And the 1.5 does feel pretty impressive. And it's interesting because Jeannie's saying that's the old part, Sal. Well, there's part of me that is questioning whether I want to go back to doing the daily, more of the daily type vlogs, the shorter ones. This is what I think, the word of today is whatever. But, the thing that stops me from doing it is it takes so much time. Doing the broadcasts, obviously it takes time to prepare, and it takes 2, 4, 5.5 hours to do the broadcasts, to literally stream. And then there's the stuff that I do afterwards. So it all takes time. But it's about, I feel that that we get sort of bogged down into stuff with the longer broadcasts. Not that that's a bad thing. We discuss heavier subjects for longer. And so I was just really thinking, and maybe I will put out a questionnaire on this one to say, would you guys like me to go back to doing the shorter ones a bit more and maybe give up doing one of the longer broadcasts? I don't know. I got to look at that. Every time we hit a major milestone, I sort of look at it and go, am I happy with what I'm doing? And is it serving the best for people? Now, I'm pretty certain those of you who are regular viewers of the broadcast, and I know who you are, you know that is serving you. But the reason I say that, how long are the short ones? They're normally about 10, maybe 20 minutes tops. And so, it's, again, part of me goes, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Maybe I just going to start throwing in some quicker ones. And I was aware that, I had a lot more handy hint type things in the shorter ones than perhaps I do sometimes with the longer ones. So bear with me, because I think this is all about how I got to 1.5 million. I am constantly reevaluating what I do. And what the part of what I want to say to you is, I know that I am serving this group of people who is in the room right now because you keep coming back, right? Even the ones in the shadows, right? Because that, but part of me goes, how many people are we not getting to? And that's what I want to, for example, when I had an issue with my website, I stopped doing my website. I haven't done my website for a year, probably. I've paid the price of, for it, and I've, kept it going, but I haven't actually done anything on it for a year. And I quite liked writing. I think there's part of me that likes to write. And so I'm looking at that and going, I want to go and do more of that again. And just, my views on things and how life is affecting me personally, which I know we talk about. And coping is a big subject for us all. And I wonder, how do you feel you have been coping with your stress this week? Right? Give me some input. What stress did you have, and what did you cope with? Jody, if I forget, can you... Oh, where's my phone? Oh. All right, I don't need it. Jody, if I forget, can you please remind me to talk about your... Hang on, if I get it up. There we go. And then maybe I will remember it. Jody, the salt and vinegar thing, just remind me in a little while. And I haven't got the tablet with me, just so you know. All right, so Jeannie's saying your cooking segments were very informative. Yes, for some reason, people enjoyed my experiments. And I enjoyed making them, quite honestly, because they were fun. Now, there's nothing to stop me doing some here. And I was thinking that maybe I will do a couple of experiments in the coming days. Maybe how do I make that very quick fudge, which, by the way, I probably will regret. Right, and Jeannie is saying this week her mind was all over the place worrying about my daughter's root canal. Okay, what were you worried about, Jeannie? Because that's an interesting thing. What was it that was worrying you? Because that's quite a normal thing. It's not an unusual thing. So let's hear, what was it about your daughter's root canal that worried you? You got on the hamster wheel and didn't get off, right? And then you added the politics to it. And what you did to relieve the stress was to go grocery shopping twice. Yeah. And here I am trying to work out how to only go grocery shopping half as many times. But that's interesting. But I'm really interested to know what it was that was stressing you out about your daughter's root canal. Because I know you had reason to be worried, because you're not, an unintelligent person. So therefore, I'd like to know, because so other people, has anybody here had a root canal? In which case, or have any of your family had one? And were you worried about it when they had a root canal? To me, it's an interesting thing. All right, you've had one. I've had a number. I've had quite a few. I've probably had 4 or 5, I think. All right, so, all right. I'm not going to repeat that unless you tell me it's okay, Jeannie. And then that makes perfect sense to me why you were concerned. Right. Okay, so that's why I choose not to repeat everything that gets written, Jeannie, is because sometimes I'm not quite sure whether it should be repeated. However, I can imagine why you were concerned based on that, all right? And thank you for sharing that with the people in the room, and the people in the room, let's keep that to ourselves. So I wanted to just share something that Jody came up with. I'm always looking for healthier swaps, is it? And because I don't think we realize, and what I wanted to ask you to think about is, which do you think is better for you? All right, 1 ounce of salt and vinegar chips or 1 ounce of salt and vinegar almonds? And what I want to do is to just show you why this is interesting. What is interesting about it is that the salt and vinegar chips are, 1 ounce of them is 160 calories. But the salt and vinegar almonds are 170 calories. So how many of you automatically think, oh, well, that means that the chips are better for you than the almonds? But not so. Let us continue. In the salt and vinegar chips, Jody did this research for us, and there are 8 grams of fat. In the almonds, salt and vinegar almonds, there are 15 grams of fat, nearly twice as much, but 2/3 of them are healthy fats. Isn't that interesting? So that's not a bad thing. In the chips, you got 17 grams of carbs, whereas in the almonds, you only have 5. You probably would expect that. Salt and vinegar chips have 1 gram of fiber, whereas the almonds have 3 grams of fiber. That means it moves through your body better. Body better. That's not easy to say. And then the salt and vinegar chips have 2 grams of protein, whereas the almonds have 6. So when push comes to shove, even though the salt and vinegar almonds have more calories in them, they're actually better for you. Jody, not everybody has a grip on what 1 ounce of chips looks like. Can you give me, is that a handful, would you say? And what about 1 ounce of almonds? Is that like 10? The reason I say that is because I've often asked people, which would you rather carry? A ton of feathers or a ton of gold? Now, obviously, we can't carry a ton, but the point that I'm trying to make is people think that automatically we'll say feathers, when quite honestly, if you've got a ton of it, can you imagine how many feathers there would be in a ton? Whereas a ton of gold is, would be a much smaller commodity to deal with. And so I'm interested to know what that looks like in terms of reality. Because I found that I'm starting to say, okay, I am allowed to have a handful of this, and I will do my best to get the biggest handful I can, but that's called a handful. I'm allowed a handful. When I have cereal, I have a handful, not 2, but 1 handful. All right, so Jody's saying 1 ounce is about 17 chips. Yeah, which would be about a handful. Okay, good, Jody. And I'll wait for a while because obviously we'll work out how many almonds in an ounce, roughly. And so, but these sort of swaps, 24 almonds in an ounce, that's quite a few. You get more bang for your buck then, Jody. Not only is it better for you, but you actually get more physical bites per ounce. And then it'll be interesting. Obviously, the cost would be a factor here. I'm pretty sure that an ounce of salt and vinegar almonds are way more expensive than an ounce of vinegar chips. But what if you made your own? What if you made, if you got your almonds and you made your own salt and vinegar almonds? That would probably bring down the cost. But a very useful swap to have. Thank you, Jody. I really appreciated that. And, great timing. Keep taking notes on those sort of things, Jody, because I think everybody learns when we talk about things like that. And I know you're really good about doing the research on them. So thanks, Jody. Coping with stress, I say it every time we do a broadcast. Coping means that we invest one's own conscious effort to solve personal and interpersonal problems in order to try and master, minimize, or tolerate stress and conflict. Jody's saying that she found out that Amazon has a great price on those almonds. That's wonderful. Now, I want to say that I'm noticing that Amazon, their prices are shifting. I'm doing a little bit more research because I'm finding that there are some things where Amazon's prices are no longer that much better than maybe your local store. And I don't know if anybody else has found that. The same as somebody was saying to me that they don't like Netflix as much now because they got so many foreign language films. Now, I personally, don't mind that. But, it is like, I understand if you are not somebody that, likes to read subtitles or whatever, that would be an issue. I personally, read the subtitles anyway. You sort of have to learn how to eat and chew gum at the same time. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, or talk and chew gum at the same time, whatever the expression is. Because it is interesting, but I understand that Netflix has gone so global that it's getting more Bollywood films on, it's getting a lot of movies in from Eastern Europe and so forth. So I totally understand that. We're now at the end of chapter 1, that's January, and I would like to say we're turning the page onto page 4 now, right? Or is that 3? Where are we? We're at 17th. No, so we're on the 3rd one now. We're turning the 3rd page. And I wondered how you are feeling about your book that you're writing. If you had to write this book, what do you think if you put a word, and I'll ask again next week, if you put how would you title this first this first chapter of 2021? I would definitely say surprising. For me, I've had a lot of surprises. I would say surprises would be my chapter heading for this particular chapter 1 of 2021. I got what I hope will be some nice quotes for you. I like this. It said, "Let everything happen to you, both the beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." And I thought that's so true, that we just need to know that this is, whatever's going on around us isn't our lives. It's only this little bit of our lives. All right. And I would like to say that is true of both good news and bad news in a way, because what living is being able to have all that attack you, both the good and the bad. Because did you know the good stuff is as stressful as the bad stuff? Did you know that? I think, oh, I like the good stuff, I don't like the bad stuff. But the truth is, they both have impact on your body. They both stress you to a certain extent. So, now, is that what you call your chapter 1, Jeannie, is preparing for economic hard times? And interesting, because Jeannie can't eat nuts, she was saying that she actually eats soy nuts. That's a good idea. All right, so in what ways are you preparing? Because we always do a comment on that, right? Which is the preparing, be prepared, not scared. So what preparation for economic hard times have you done this month that you would call your chapter by that name? And Jody, I know you've been doing some bank cooking, and putting some of it into the freezer. And that's also interested. All right, so Jody says, I'm searching for a word. The month is flying. Maybe that's the word. The month is flying by. I'm learning so much new medical information. It's exciting and a bit intimidating. Okay. So which is the greater for you, do you think? The speed at which the days are going by, or the mountain of information, if you like? Eleanor Roosevelt said, the purpose of life is to live it, to taste the experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear of newer and richer experience. I think that's just a beautiful thing, isn't it? That let's do what we can to live it regardless of what's going on. Jeannie's saying she's busy stocking up on coffee, jam, meats to freeze. Yes, I've it's funny you should mention coffee, Jeannie, because I buy coffee when it's on sale. I don't ever pay full price for coffee. And I think you already know that one of the ways hi, Lizzie, good to see you. One of the ways I economize on coffee is I will buy good coffee and then sort of mix it in with regular coffee. You know what I mean? So I'll buy a tin of regular coffee, and then what I will do is I will take some of the cheaper coffee and then put in good quality coffee with it and mix it up. And quite honestly, that works really well for me. But I know that I've got 3 cans of coffee here and 3 bags of high quality. And then I know that I've probably got another 6 when I get back, unless the coffee got thrown out, and I don't think it did. So I've got enough coffee to last me for a lifetime. Interesting. Lizzie's saying, I was watching a review video. On what, Lizzie? And it came up that you were live. Well, there you go, isn't it? Well, I'm glad you popped in, Lizzie. How are things with you? I'm really delighted you did. I'm just saying, Lizzie, you're one of the old timers, but Lizzie, we hit 1.5 million views yesterday. So you were looking for headphones. And Helen Keller, who always has had, interesting, sort of views on life. She said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. So the question is, did you do anything adventurous this week? Did you do anything adventurous? I pulled the paints out, so that was pretty adventurous for me. And the new paints. And I'm looking around to see what else have I got out here that I was adventurous about. Oh, I was very disciplined. I can say that I was very disciplined this week. Yesterday, I took all the baking stuff that is not good for me, and I picked it up and I put it into one of the high shelves in my this rented apartment that I have until I can go home. I put it on one of the very high shelves so that I cannot reach it easily. To get to it, I need to pull out a step stool and climb up and get it. And this is like gonna do that. I'm sorry to hear you had tough news, Lizzie. Let us know what it is if you want to, and let me know if I should say it out loud or not, okay? And, sending you lots of hugs and love, Lizzie. How about this one? Sarah Desson said the truth about forever, said, what you have to decide is how you want your life to be. If your forever was ending tomorrow, would this be how you'd want to have spent it? Listen, the truth is, nothing is guaranteed. You know that more than anybody, so don't be afraid. Be alive. I had a call from Dougie this morning, And one of the things that I said to him was, I am a little bit betwixt and between whether I will go and get the vaccine immediately. And the reason is I believe that there are people maybe more deserving than I that should get the vaccine ahead of me, even though of my age and everything. And then on the other side, I'm thinking frontline people who, like Beth, somebody who's a frontline worker, people in retail. I think they should get the vaccine before I do, because I don't go out very much anymore. But then on the other hand, I was saying, I think taxi drivers and people who deliver food should be vaccinated. All right, they should be high on the list. In other words, the guy that delivers my groceries, every week, well, now going to be every other week, should be vaccinated if necessary before me, because he is constantly touching things and doing stuff like that. So, to me, that is, important. And we also know that he can spread it faster than a lot of people because of that. So, that is something to think about. Jeannie's saying she got adventurous. She made chicken salad for York, stuffed cabbage for herself, and for a sick friend. Yes, we were talking about how much I'd forgotten that cabbage actually does taste good. It's funny. And Lizzie's saying, because there's, hang on a second, let me make sure I can read that. Yes, because there's so many people who are with the general public, both my grandparents are getting their vaccines this week. Yes, I think that would be the one reason I may get it, is because, it's like I need to keep myself safe from the people that serve me, if you like, in that way. And as we know, the vaccine is not going to stop me from getting it. The vaccine hopefully will stop me from ending up in ICU. That is the difference, right? How about this one? Walt Whitman said, "Do anything, but let it produce joy." So how about that? What are you going to do to reduce your stress this week and bring yourself some joy? Yeah, Liz, we were saying that, like cabbage rolls, yes, we were saying that I actually have found out that slicing cabbage up into bits about this big and then tossing them in oil and salt and pepper, and I've got a thing of Chinese Chinese type flavors, and I put that on nutmeg over cabbage is wonderful, and then roast it, and they end up like little chips, crispy chips. They're so good, and obviously a lot better for you than chips. Elizabeth Gilbert said, "You were given life. It is your duty and also your entitlement as a human being to find something beautiful within life, no matter how slight." I want to challenge you to do that this week. It's going to be a very big news week, we know that. But let's challenge ourselves to live life. Make sure that you limit the amount of time you spend watching the news and do something enjoyable, something that gives you joy and something that is living. And how about this one? One day, your life will flash before your eyes. Make sure it's worth watching. If you look back at last week, if last week flashed past your eyes, what comes to mind? What flashed when I said that? Oh, Jeannie is adding about the cabbage, I believe. She's saying that her mum made it in tomato sauce and brown sugar. So that was sweet and sour. Isn't that lovely? For those that can and again, I was saying in the broadcast on Friday, I am learning to get different flavors of no sugar added jams and using that for sweetness when I'm cooking. If I'm making a sweet and sour sauce or something, to use no sugar added jam rather than brown sugar or something, because there's enough sweetness in the jams to make that taste for me. That's just mine. Ilona Andrews said, you might want to decide fast. We live in a dangerous world. If you see a chance to be happy, you have to fight for it. So later you will have no regrets. I was talking about the 1.5 million views. You guys are pretty smart. What do you think it has taken to get there? Do you think it's been easy? I mean, other than the pure time invested. Oh, Lizzie's saying, I like the, I forgot the name, comes in a blue jar. Yeah, I can see it. And it's sugar-free jam. Yes, exactly. And, I want to tell you, St. Dalford jam. Okay, so here's the thing. You put that over pork, you will love it, and it's got very few bad parts to it. I love blueberries. One of my favorite dishes to cook is to slow cook a pork tenderloin in blueberries and onion. I want to tell you that, what do I use? Balsamic vinegar. I want to tell you, I would pay big money for that taste. And Rita Mae Brown said this, and listen to this, right? I finally figured out the only reason to be alive is to enjoy it. And so here's the question. Did you enjoy last week? And will you enjoy the coming week? I am busy at the moment, looking around going, I've got a lot of chaos going on here. It is time for me to take a bit of time and tidy up again. But I do know that what I want to do is to take out the easel. Now, I don't know if any of you relate to this, but I got this beautiful easel that Benji and Judy gave me and the children gave me for Christmas. And I've never had an artist easel. And I'm scared to unpack it and put it together and dirty it. But I know I've got to get it dirty. It's a bit like a new car, right? The first ding you get on a new car makes the car normal again. But it's like I need to unpack it and take it out of its box and start, even if I put a blank canvas on it, it would be a major achievement. But I do have the drop cloths and I do have the brushes for the big canvases that I've got. But it means that I got to totally reorganize the dining room area, because that's obviously where it's got to go. But I can do it. I am a jigsaw expert, right? We know that. So would that give me joy? Yeah, it would give me a sense of achievement. While I'm looking here, I'm thinking I could put the dining room table, which is quite small and round, and put it over here where the easel is at the moment. And then, yeah, that would work. And Lizzie's saying you should. Why should I? Lizzie? And there's that voice in my head that's going, yeah, but you're going to be packing everything up again in a couple of months. And it's going to be even more to pack up. And, really, let me live. There are a couple of things artistically that I've wanted to try, and I'm going to see what I can do to try I've done the one, as you know, which isn't here at the moment, but yes, exactly. Lizzie's saying the reason that I need to get the easel out and play is because it feeds the happy part of your soul. I quite agree. And I've always loved how excited you get creating things. Did you see the picture that I painted this week? I actually did get to paint. So, and I don't even have my phone here, do I? On Instagram, yep. Actually, I did too. So, you look at it and you go, it's really important. And for those of you who are creative, please do something creative this week. You don't have the time. I know that. I know you don't have the time. You need to make the time. And especially those of you who are in pain, because we know for a fact that diverting your attention to something creative definitely helps you in terms of pain management. This is interesting. Aaron Lauritsen said, there is a strange comfort in knowing that no matter what happens today, the sun will rise again tomorrow. And the voice in my head said, unless you live in British Columbia. But you know what they mean, right? And it is important to remember that every day we get to start another page. Every day. Wow, interesting. Jeannie's saying the one I saw was a terrific landscape of a city. Okay, yep, that's the one. Thank you. Did you actually see that I did it on a piece of Amazon cardboard from a box I had a delivery in? You see, because to me, that is the important part of it. The important part of it is that I didn't want to waste a full canvas because I've never tried a cityscape before. So I took a piece of cardboard. Yeah, hang on a second. Hang on, Lizzie. Let me get it. Huh. I thought I would try and find my phone at the same time, but I don't know what I did with it. Okay, so Lizzie, there it is. And it's on a flap of a Amazon box. Okay. Now, the reason I have no fear of painting on cardboard is one of my favorite paintings that I've ever done is in my house. And I did it on a piece of cardboard 30 years ago. I didn't cover it with any sort of glass and I didn't cover it with any special anything. I just painted it and I put it in a frame, I had it framed. And it looks as good today as it did 30 years ago. So I really want to tell you. You're asking, is it Vancouver Harbor? No. It reminds me of the walk to the park when you walk along the water's edge. Yes. It could be anywhere. I just, literally played. I'd love to tell you it's some well-known city. It isn't. Yes, it is. It's Sal City. That's Sal City. I will probably do different looks of Sal City for you in different colors if you would like me to. And I'm not joking. I have never done a cityscape before. and I had no idea really how to do it. I just thought, let me see what I can do. And I actually want to tell you that it didn't look, when you sort of look at it at one way, it doesn't look good. But as you say, you know what it is, right? You know it's a cityscape. So I got quite excited about that. And it's not perfect, and I don't care. But the question we have is, what color frame should I put around it? I'm thinking almost a charcoal gray, probably. You love the rain effect. Okay, now you know what caused the rain effect? Globs of paint. Oh, and by the way, cardboard bends, all right? So when I'd finish painting, just if you use cardboard as a canvas, it bends. So it ended up with a warp in it. Now, the way I stopped that, and that's what I had to go and get it, was yesterday, I literally took a damp sponge and I made the back of it wet because the front of it is now dry. And then I put it on the floor and put a 10-pound bag of flour on top of it. So that's how I got it to be straight. How did I think to do that? I'm going, if the water in the paint caused this to curve one way, if I put water on the back, surely it will curve the other, especially if I make it do it. All right, so yeah, Jodi's saying there's something very Monday morning commute about it, especially in BC. All right. So what I want you to know is that art isn't about doing it perfectly. Art is just, putting paint on paper or canvas or cardboard or whatever. It's like if you talk to any artist of any sort, whether they are a writer, I find that, it's the doing of it that is the joy, not necessarily the result. I could have done that and enjoyed the process and thrown it away, but when it dried, I looked at it and I went, I'm not going to throw that away. I might actually, what I might do is I might give it as a gift to the guy that's been so helpful to me, here at the apartments, if I can get it framed, and that's what I will do. So hi there, Sandy. Good to see you there. And yeah, no problem that you're listening while you're up to other things. I love it when people multitask. Well, it's, the way I look at it is I will actually paint the back of it. So, and then, or I will take it and have it framed, and I'll try and get a paint pen just to initial it. Yeah. Actually, it had a really nice blue. It's a metallic blue that I think made the difference. And I don't know if you know this, but I've got golds in there as well. Don't know if you can see them. Can you see them? Yeah, if I put it up close enough, you can see the gold. So, Sandy, it's quite all right you've been MIA. You know that you are part of the family, so you come in and out as you need to. I hope you're okay, Sandy. Sandy, how is the wee thing going? Oh, that was another thing, wasn't it, for me? When I think about the week, I actually did. Wish I could find my phone. What did I do with it, people? It's not even funny anymore. I've looked in all the obvious places. Huh. Okay. But what I did was, that wee step, Sandy, I managed to do half an hour of stepping on and off that wee step, and that was 2,700 and something steps. Literally stepping up, stepping down, stepping up, stepping down, changing legs, stepping up, stepping down. It was, when I think about it, 60 days ago, I could not have done 10 minutes of that without breaking into a sweat. And when I'd finished it, I then went on to do something else. Isn't that amazing? So what I wanted to find out is, Sandy's been struggling with her blood sugar again. Yeah, I have too. Yeah, I won't be here after the broadcast, though. Oh, actually, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea. Why don't you? Oh, you can't do it because you're on the phone now. I can phone myself. Oh, I can phone myself. I can phone myself. What a good idea. Hold on one second, people. Thank you, Jody. Hang on. Okay, so here is the thing. You remember I said to you once before, what I don't like about this apartment is all the countertops are black marble or imitation marble. You can't see the phone because when that's off, it's all black, right? And you put it down on a black granite is what it is. Countertop, you can't see it. Right, now then. But thank you, Jody, for thinking of it. All right, so again, let us think about how much fun we can have this week, all right? How about this one? It's in those quiet little towns at the edge of the world that you will find the salt of the earth people who make you feel right at home. How many of you can feel that? And, the reason I say that is I think that's part of what we are missing, with the pandemic, is we're not getting out and meeting those salt of the earth people that used to interrupt our lives in some way. How many of you understand what I'm saying? Is that, I find that I miss that. I miss, popping in and out of shops and talking to people. And it is hard, Lizzie, but the most important thing is to be, I don't know about you, but I give thanks every day. And every Sunday, I give thanks that we made it through another week. I hope you guys do as well. Because, we have no guarantee that we're going to be here this time next week, and to me, it is so amazing to be able to go, hey, I enjoyed this week. Regardless of all the stress, I enjoyed the week. How many of you agree that true friends don't come with conditions? Now, I want to talk about that for a second because I've got one friend who I've known for over 30 years. I've known him, I've known him longer than anybody else in Canada. And it is really interesting because I'll drop him a quick note on an email or something, and he will write back. And complained that I didn't phone. And, I find that interesting because I have told him a number of times that I find it difficult on the phone because I've lost so much of my hearing. And therefore, I communicate in a way better by not phoning than, and it just takes so much time of people having to repeat everything. And wearing a hearing aid doesn't do it for me at all. It doesn't help. I'm beginning to get a bit concerned about it because it's like he doesn't like it, but I don't hear, but if it helps you, Sal, that's fine. Do you understand? So I'm about to have a little discussion with this friend of many years and go, I want to tell you what it feels like to me. I want you to know what it feels like. Because if I don't, I think I'm doing myself a disservice. Jeannie's saying today, a French bulldog stopped to say hi to me. I had never met him. His owner said the dog wanted to meet me. But that was the happiest of moment today. Yes, isn't that lovely? I would say that those of you who have pets in your houses are indeed blessed because you have got unconditional love coming at you, and even when you're out. So that is awesome. I'm delighted to hear that. And how about this? Be happy because you have this wonderful life. So live that everyone remembers you when you're not there. You see, I've said this to you before, that a long time ago, I wrote my own epitaph. I wrote what I would like people to put up on, a piece of wood somewhere. And it just was important to me. If I don't know what I want them to say about me after I've gone, then how will I know how to live my life today? And I wrote that here lies Sal, who cared enough to share, shared enough to make a meaningful difference, and by so doing, became a gentle giant inside. It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's not about anything except who cared enough to share and shared enough to make a meaningful difference. How many of you know that I can ask myself that question every day and say, Sal, did you care enough to share today? And did you share enough to make a meaningful difference? Because if so, then every day I know I can go to sleep. And if I don't wake up, I know that it can be said. Whether it will be or not, I don't know, but it could be said. And some of you know that I help people prep for important interviews. And I had a young man that asked me to give him some help with his medical entrance interview because I do that. And it was interesting because, I don't deal with the medical questions. I deal with voice tone and body language and the way that young people answer questions. And it amazes me that literally I start off and this person doesn't know me from a hill of beans. And an hour and a half later, it's amazing the difference that I can hear in them. And, I'm saying it because part of what gave me joy was yesterday getting an email from the guy that I'd helped last week asking if he can have another session with me. So, and also reporting back on how he's been incorporating, some of the things we talked about into his new way of answering questions. And, that made me really happy because you understand he wouldn't be asking for another session with me if the session he had didn't help. True? So that was and I'm going to be talking to him again on Tuesday. All right, so here we go. interesting. Jeannie's saying, my mother was a rather shy woman, but she often shared with others. She gave me a good example. Yes, I think it's very important that we understand, that we have that ability. And Jody is saying that's so beautiful, and I get emotional when I hear it. You do care, Sal, and you show it every day. Well, the interesting thing is, Jody, that I know when I say to people, boy, we've made it to 1.5 million views, everybody automatically thinks that I'm making a load of money. And I want to tell you that I have yet to have Dear Mama Sal make a profit. I know that's hard to believe because I never did it in a commercial way. I just wanted to do what I do. And it was really interesting to me how many people, when they hear, oh, I remember when I made it to 1 million, everybody said, oh, you must be making a fortune. And I go, no, actually, I'm not. And, it's not, I think that is part of why I query, have I been successful? It depends what side of me you look at. If you look at, did I do what I set out to do? Yes, definitely. But the business mind of me said, did you make a profit? Did you do this in a way to make money? And I went, no. I never did. And the reason I didn't was because I thought it would compromise what I had to say. And therefore, I didn't want to be beholden to, something else. And now I don't mind every now and then telling you about my gizmos or whatever, because that to me is natural. But, that's about as far as I go. So to me, what's more important is that we get to help the people that we can, and those that need it will find us, I have discovered. And that is wonderful. How about this one? How many of you can say that you have now learned that to change the way you think will cause you to enjoy every moment of your life? It is possible to enjoy your life regardless of what is coming down at you. It has to do with, can you get off that hamster wheel and deal with reality? And if you can, you will be happy. Jody's saying you've never been about the money. You are about making a difference. I know the time you invest. Yeah, Jody probably knows more than anybody that it literally is a 7-day-a-week job doing this. But I enjoy the results. Right? I enjoy seeing Lizzie come back and to see, and I have Amber, who is just about to produce twins. Understand how important it is that we know when she has them. I think it's important. I wonder whether any of you understand how much it pleases me when somebody writes to me and says, could I get thoughts and prayers for whatever? And we give thoughts and prayers. And the crisis is abated to some degree. I don't know about you, but that makes me feel good. Wow. Benji saying, I've learned a lot from you about emotional intelligence and how to deal with life in a way to have more peace. So no matter what's going on, you are definitely worth every minute spent. Oh, with you. Don't do that to me, Benj. Thank you, honey. And I was saying, Benj, on Friday at some point that it is really interesting to me how our relationship became symbiotic, in as much as it started off with me teaching you stuff and then you teaching me stuff. And now we're at a place, hey, Benj, about the slugs, I had a brilliant idea. Do any of you grow your own vegetables? I had a brilliant idea. I've made this little, I got to show you guys. Hang on. Gives me pleasure, guys. You know that. Okay, here's my tip for the day. Benj, there's two parts to this. Number one, I was talking to Benji a couple of weeks ago that doing a bit of research, found out that slugs do not, I have big problems, slugs eating all my seedlings last year. So what I found out is they don't like wool and they don't like hair. And then I thought, I took the lint out of my dryer and I took the hair. Can you see the hair there? That I sweep up on the floor. And I've started making these little things I can put over my seedlings. How many of you are going, you're not surprised? But Benji, I had another brilliant idea. For those people who have enough money to do this, what about Velcro? What if you put strips of Velcro around, the tomato patch, or around the pot? Because you do a lot of you put them in their raised beds. I'm thinking Velcro would do it. That's really uncomfortable for a slug to ride across. Yeah, Jody, I knew that you would, Mrs. MacGyver, but you understand the principle. Now you want to. Well, that's what I'm saying, Benj. Whereas, originally you asked for my opinion about so many things. And we talk things out. And then, there came a time where I got older and now I needed your input on so many things. And I think it's lovely now that we sort of at the stage where it's symbiotic. It helps us both. And I love it. I mean, I hope it still helps you, but it sure helps me. And that day you asked me, what is emotional intelligence? Do you remember what I told you? I said, I don't think that you and Judy need to study it. Because, I think that you guys get off the hamster wheel pretty darn quickly, faster than most people I know. In fact, you don't even get into it half the time, where people would be totally thrown off kilter. That's one of the things I've always admired about the two of you. You just don't get caught up in the stuff. And maybe that's because of your upbringing. Maybe you weren't ever allowed to get caught up in this stuff. There is that reality, because of the way you were brought up. But, for a lot of us, we watched the stuff, we watched the emotion and we bought into it and thought that was the way you dealt with things. Well, guess what? So I look at it and go, what if I had known about emotional intelligence and how to process things better? I didn't ever realize that every thought you have has to go through that emotional part of your brain before it hits reality. I didn't know that. That bit that processes reality, it has to go through the emotional part first. When I read that, I went, that's when I came up with the diagram, because I went, boy, if we understand that, there's a reason why we get caught up on the hamster wheel before we take steps. And sometimes, that can take years to be in that hamster wheel trying to process things. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Benji's saying here that, he grew up with solid upbringing, great mentors, and positive mindset and faith. Now, Benji, you've probably heard me tell the story. I found that my faith training went against me in my household. I tell the story about when I was I was at boarding school by the age of 6. if you can believe that. And the first Christmas I came home, we had done a little play at school. And it was about, giving people who were so poor that they didn't have money for presents. So what they did is they wrapped up boxes with nothing in them, but gave them to one another and told people they were filled with love. And I, as a 6-year-old, how this got to me and how incredibly touched I was by that. And I went home and told the story. And what happened was that my family on Christmas morning thought it was really funny to give everybody else all these incredibly expensive presents, and they gave me a set of boxes with nothing in them. And when I looked at them and said, why? And they said, no, that's what you wanted, boxes filled with love. Well, I learned a couple of things there. I learned not to tell the truth. And I want to tell you something. I can remember that being a pivotal moment in my life where telling the truth was not a good idea. Isn't that interesting? And also, I remember asking God why he let that happen. I remember being really confused by that. And why did they not understand the principle of what was being said? Why did they punish me with it? And, it was so funny because when I look at it, it was a real shift moment. And I'm certain all of you who are listening to this or may listen to this, you all had pivotal moments in your life that shifted your belief system in some way. And I look at it and go, it was such a small thing, but to make fun of a child for something like that, I now know, it's not really a very good thing. Because here I am, 70 years later, just about, and I still can feel the pain of that. Isn't that amazing? So I look at it and go, we all have an incredible amount of stress. I look at it and go, it is our ability to know that this does not define us. All right. I think that of all the people I know, they have had incredible stress that has nothing to do with the pandemic, that has had nothing to do with anything going on with politics. I have got friends close to me that have had the most devastating years for whatever reason. But, it is our job to just keep going and to be grateful that we can. Well, Jeannie's saying, I feel sad for you. It was so mean and stood up as a terrible defining moment. Yes. And it was the reason I thought about it was because of what Benji said about and faith. Because I actually was at a very high Anglican school, which is as close to Catholicism as you can get. It was Henry VIII's version of Catholic. And so it had all the elements of the Catholic religion to it, but, it was Anglican. And so what I couldn't believe was that this could happen after what I'd been taught. You know what I mean? It was like I was getting fed this information from one place, but what was happening was totally different on the other, right? And something just didn't work right in my mind, and I can remember it. Yes, Lizzie's saying that I am at the point where the stress has been so much, I'm on autopilot. Does anybody else feel like that? Like you're just sort of numb and you're just going through the motions, maybe? Oh, Autumn, I was talking about a defining moment in my life. Benji was talking about something and it triggered something in me. Yes, Jeannie's saying, and God gives us free will. His plan is greater than ours. I will always say, you've heard me say it a lot of times, Jeannie, that I do not believe I would do the work I do today had it not been for the life I lived. And a lot of it was not pleasant, quite honestly. And Jody's saying, the story hurts my heart to think of you as a 6-year-old, how crushed you felt. I still do, apparently. Seeing siblings with gifts and your boxes were all empty. Yeah, and so, I'm not saying it about woe is me and feel sorry for me. I'm saying it because we choose to be happy. And in a way, I can look back and I can realize that at that age, I realized it was up to me to be happy on my own because I couldn't rely on that to happen from the outside. I was, and this always amazes me, I was the only child at communion, not communion, not baptism. What's the word I'm looking for? Okay. It's not confirmation. Thank you, Jody. I knew you guys would help me on that one. I was the only child in my school. Right? I was at a high Anglican school run by nuns. I was the only child that had nobody there for their confirmation. Can you imagine that? I was confirmed by the Archbishop of Canterbury. He is the most powerful figure, right? in the Anglican Church, the most powerful figure. And I was confirmed by him, and not one member of my family was there to watch it. Now, do you think that was a bit defining for me as well? So I look at it and I go, life doesn't always give you what you want, right? But I can still remember, and somewhere, hopefully when they unpack my stuff, I can still remember the sort of lilac-covered leather Bible that the nuns gave me. The nuns gave me a Bible as a confirmation present. Yeah, that was pretty defining. When all else was not there, the nuns were. So I look at it and go, hey, let's have a little chat here about Jeannie lost her whole house, right? Less than 6 months ago. Pretty defining moment, I would say, Jeannie. Pretty defining moment where everything, all your memories, all your things you had collected, hoarded, and valued for a lifetime suddenly went up in smoke, literally. I know some of that feeling because of what happened in my house. I don't know what it's like to have everything go up in smoke. But I do know what it's like to have a third of it. So to me, I look at it and say, these defining moments, all right, I'm pretty certain, Jeannie, that when you walk into your new house, you will go, boy, I never expected to have a new house for the final years of my life. Because that's what you will have, right? And they will have done a lot of the downsizing for you. True? Jeannie's saying, I kept making the same mistake until I found the missing piece. That I had been harmed as a child, and it seemed safer to make these mistakes instead of doing good. Wow. Yeah, I can relate to that as well. That's a whole nother story, right? So I look at it and go, this is not going to be an easy year, I think, quite honestly. I think we're going to need even more strength and stress management this year than we did last year. Do any of you feel that way? But I'm hoping that you are doing things to distract yourself enough that you'll be able to balance. Okay? This gave me pleasure working on how this would work. And then I thought, boy, why don't I just put down Velcro? And I'm going, but this is a really good use of dryer lint and, a toilet roll, half in half. And by the way, it's not in half, actually. I cut the bottom of it like that. Now, I'm quite looking forward to going back. I'll do some tests, that. I will try a couple of those and some Velcro. And then I thought, what about felt? What about just regular kids' felt? Would that work? I got a feeling it would. So I'm going to be doing some experiments. Why? Because that's what gives me joy. That's, I love doing experiments. You know that. All right, Jody, I promised you I would do the countdown, so let me do that. I had no idea I was going to go in that direction today. Just bear with me. All right, for those of you, bless you, Benji, thank you. All right, so here we go. Are you ready for this? Christmas is now 341 days away. Have you started on Christmas yet? Have you started on Christmas yet? I have. All right, second one. You have 10 months and 17 days to get your cards in the mail for the overseas Christmas cards. Thanksgiving, you have 10 months in the US, 10 months and 11 days to sort out your recipes. Canadians, we only have 8 months and 26 days. Okay, Jenny, good night. Summer is 153 days away if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, and winter is 153 days away if you are in the Southern Hemisphere. Easter, taxes. In the US, you've got just under 3 months to get your taxes sorted out. Easter is 2 months and 16 days away. Spring is just 2 months and 2 days away. Our clocks go forward again, if you can believe it, in 125 days. For those of you who celebrate Lent, it is just a month away today. For the romantics, you've got 27 days until Valentine's Day. For those of you who understand about Mercury being in retrograde, yep, January the 30th until February the 20th is when it's going to be. And so I've got a couple of others here that I still have to update. I didn't know I hadn't updated them all, but how many of you are going, here we go, it's another year, and we get to do this all over again. So think about this. Yeah, I'm like that as I can wait. Please don't say you can't wait until spring, Lizzie, because that's what you're telling the universe, that you cannot make it to spring. Say, I'm so looking forward to spring. Do you understand the difference? And, I found that those little shifts in what you say make all the difference in terms of being happy. We are blessed to be here. I feel that every time we all get together. And we are blessed that we have people that we continue to help just by being who we are. You thought about how magical that is? And so I look at it and I go, isn't it amazing? Just absolutely amazing that we will learn so much by all that will happen this year. And whether that is medically, politically, financially, whatever, take everything that happens and go, this is a new learning moment. And I'm going to be grateful for it. Because in its own way, it will teach me more about life. The life, part of the reason that we get so depressed is we imagine our lives being perfect. And then we get so disappointed when it isn't. I don't know about you, but I'm learning now to be grateful for the normal days. grateful for the normal days. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just, am I making my life as happy as I can under the circumstances? And not waiting for somebody else to do it for me, because that's where the stress is. The stress is when the outside world disappoints you. All right? Think about that. Remember that what caused that defining moment in my life was the outside world didn't match my inside feelings. And so I am about to go out and have my weekly Chinese dinner and talk to people and hand over my homemade bread that I've made for them. Just why it is my one human contact, other than the delivery men, it's my one human contact of the week. And I do enjoy it. And Lizzie's saying, you know, I really needed this. I'm glad you showed up while I was looking at headphones. Yeah. Well, I'm here every Sunday, as you know, and twice on a Friday. So I'm really happy you came because it made me smile and that made my day better. Yeah, and as Jody says, I'm a great believer in there are no coincidences. So a big hug to you, Lizzie. And you know how to get hold of me if you want to write, let me know what's going on. So let's understand that we control how this affects us. We are not 6-year-olds, we are adults. We are not 6-year-olds, we are adults. And we can put down, you know, we can turn off the television, we can change our lives, we can distract ourselves. Even if you're in pain, you know, you can do things to make your life different in the moment. And so here is what I say. Thank you so much for popping in, all of you, and chatting. Thank you for who you are, because your input and your feedback helps other people. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, until Friday, where life will probably be totally different again, and our job is to deal with it. Bye-bye for now.